Once beloved faces of the iconic series, these actors lit up the screen with unforgettable performances. But time as unforgiving fame fades, and behind the spotlight lay untold struggles. Which of them still walk among us, and which have already been claimed by tragedy? What became of their lives after the camera stopped rolling? Buddy Ebsen, the towering figure behind the beloved character Jed Clampett in the Beverly Hillbillies, 1962 to 1971, became an American television icon through his portrayal of the simple yet wise patriarch who struck oil and moved his family to Beverly Hills. Born on April 2, 1908 in Belleville, Illinois, Ebsen stepped into the role of Jed at the age of 54, a casting decision that would forever define his career. Before this, he had enjoyed a long career in Hollywood, beginning as a dancer and actor in the 1930s, appearing in films such as Broadway Melody of 1936, Born to Dance 1936, and even being cast in The Wizard of Oz 1939 as the Tin Man. Only to suffer a near-fatal allergic reaction to the makeup, a devastating setback that left him hospitalized and replaced. Ebsen's journey was not without struggles. Although the Beverly Hillbillies brought him immense fame, he found himself typecast with Hollywood, struggling to see him beyond the role of Jed Clampett. His personal life also bore its share of turbulence. He married 3 times and endured divorces that strained both his finances and emotions. Despite these hardships, Ebsen managed to build a stable financial foundation. At the peak of his career and in later years, his net worth was estimated at around $2 million, largely stemming from his acting, real estate investments, and later his writing career. Beyond the Beverly Hillbillies, Ebsen starred in Barnaby Jones 1973-1980, another career-defining role that showcased his versatility as a detective in a crime drama. Yet while his professional life remained in the spotlight, his private life was quieter. He had 8 children, though the demands of Hollywood often strained these family ties. He owned multiple properties in California, reflecting a steady, if not extravagant, lifestyle. Buddy Ebsen passed away on July 6, 2003 from respiratory failure at the age of 95. His death marked the end of a life filled with triumph, near tragedy, resilience, and reinvention. Though he endured personal and professional setbacks, he remains remembered as a symbol of television's golden age forever. The kindly face of Jed Clampett who brought laughter to millions. Irene Ryan, forever etched in television history as Daisy Mae Granny Moses on the Beverly Hillbillies 1962-1971, brought fiery wit and comedic brilliance to the role of the Clampett family's feisty matriarch. Born on October 17, 1902 in El Paso, Texas, she was already 60 years old when she first appeared on the show, proving that age was no barrier to becoming a cultural icon. Her sharp tongue, old-fashioned remedies, and boundless energy made Granny one of the most beloved characters on American television. Before finding fame as Granny, Ryan had a long but often uneven career in vaudeville, radio, and film. She performed in comedy acts during the 1920s and 1930s and appeared in movies such as Melody Parade 1943 and Oh My Darling Clementine 1943. Yet for decades she struggled to break into stardom, often relegated to supporting roles and small appearances. The success of the Beverly Hillbillies was both a blessing and a bittersweet reminder it gave her fame, but it came very late in her life. Her personal life too carried shadows of disappointment. Ryan married twice, but both marriages ended in divorce, and she never had children. Behind her comedic presence was a woman who faced loneliness and heartbreak, pouring much of her energy into her work. Financially, she lived comfortably during her later years, earning enough from the series to accumulate an estimated net worth of around $1 million by the end of her life. Modest compared to many stars, but significant for someone whose peak came so late. She owned a home in California, but unlike her on-screen character's rural roots, Ryan lived a quieter, more private lifestyle in Hollywood. Tragically, while performing in a Broadway production of Pippin in 1973, she collapsed and was later diagnosed with a brain tumor. Irene Ryan passed away on April 26, 1973 at the age of 70. Her death came just 2 years after the Beverly Hillbillies ended, cutting short a renewed career that had finally given her the recognition she had long sought. Though her life was marked by professional setbacks and personal solitude, she is remembered as Granny, the heart and humor of the Clampett clan, who left behind a legacy of laughter that endures decades later. Donna Douglas, the radiant actress, best known for bringing Ellie Mae Clampett to life in the Beverly Hillbillies 1962-1971, became a symbol of charm, innocence, and Southern beauty on American television. Born on September 26, 1932 in Pride, Louisiana, she was just 30 years old when she stepped into the role of Jed Clampett's sweet, animal-loving daughter. Her character's love for critters and her wholesome demeanor made her an instant favorite, securing her place in TV history as one of the show's most memorable figures. Before her rise to fame, Douglas had pursued modeling and small acting roles, appearing in films such as Career 1959, Lover Come Back 1961, and notably starring alongside Elvis Presley in Frankie and Johnny 1966. Yet, like many actors tied to iconic television roles, she found herself typecast after the Beverly Hillbillies ended. Hollywood offers dwindled, and despite her beauty and talent, she struggled to recapture the same level of fame. This professional frustration was a quiet biographical tragedy, an actress forever adored as Ellie Mae, but rarely given opportunities to redefine herself. Her personal life was equally turbulent. Douglas married twice, with both marriages ending in divorce, and she had one son. Heartache shadowed her attempts at happiness, and her private struggles stood in stark contrast to her on-screen image of carefree joy. Despite these setbacks, she found success outside of Hollywood as a gospel singer, inspirational speaker, and author of children's books, reinventing herself in ways that kept her connected to fans. Financially, Douglas lived modestly. By later estimates, her net worth was around $500,000 to $1 million, stemming from residuals book sales and her work as a speaker. She owned a home in Louisiana, preferring a quiet lifestyle away from Hollywood's glare, closer to her southern roots. Donna Douglas passed away on January 1, 2015 in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, after battling pancreatic cancer. She was 82 years old. Though her career was marked by both success and limitation, and her personal life carried its share of heartbreak, her legacy endures. To millions, she will forever be remembered as Ellie Mae Clampett, the sweet country girl with a smile as bright as the Hollywood lights she once stood beneath. Raymond Bailey, the distinguished character actor who immortalized the role of Milburn Drysdale, the greedy yet comically flustered banker in the Beverly Hillbillies, 1962-1971, became a household name thanks to his sharp timing and polished portrayal of the money-obsessed financier overseeing the Clampetts' fortune. Born on May 6, 1904 in San Francisco, California, Bailey was 58 years old when he first appeared as Drysdale, a role that would forever cement his place in television history. Bailey's path to fame was far from easy. Before Hollywood, he worked a string of odd jobs, even spending years as a sailor, and struggling through failed acting attempts. He finally gained momentum in the 1950s and 1960s with appearances in films such as Vertigo, 1958, No Time for Sergeants, 1958, and Irma la Douce, 1963, as well as TV roles in Alfred Hitchcock Presents and Perry Mason. Yet despite these credits, it was the Beverly Hillbillies that gave him true recognition. Sadly, as with many actors, the role was a double-edged sword. While it brought fame, it also led to typecasting that limited his career afterward. Bailey's private life was marked by quiet struggles. He never married and had no children, a personal solitude that contrasted with the chaotic humor of his on-screen persona. Financially, his career brought stability, and by the height of his fame, his net worth was estimated at around $1 to $2 million, stemming from his long career and television earnings. He owned property in California, though he lived a reserved lifestyle far from the glamour associated with Hollywood elites. In his later years, Bailey's health declined. He developed Alzheimer's disease, which forced him into retirement in 1975 and led him into seclusion. He passed away on April 15, 1980 in Irvine, California, from a heart attack at the age of 75. His final years were marked by illness and withdrawal from public life, a tragic ending for a man whose comedic brilliance had once lit up America's living rooms. Though Bailey endured personal loneliness and professional limitations, his legacy remains intact. As Milburn Drysdale, he embodied the perfect foil to the Clampetts' rustic charm, leaving behind a performance that continues to entertain audiences long after his passing. Nancy Culp remembered fondly for her portrayal of Jane Hathaway, the prim, loyal, and intellectual secretary to banker Milburn Drysdale on the Beverly Hillbillies 1962-1971, became one of the show's most beloved supporting stars. Born on August 28, 1921 in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, she was 41 years old when she first stepped into the role of Miss Hathaway, bringing warmth, wit, and a quirky charm to a character who was both the brains behind Drysdale and a subtle voice of reason amid the Clampetts' chaos. Before her breakthrough, Culp led a remarkable life. She earned a master's degree in English and French, served in the U.S. Navy during World War II as a member of the Women Accepted for Volunteer Emergency Service Waves, and later entered Hollywood as a character actress. She appeared in films such as Shane 1953, A Star is Born 1954, and The Three Faces of Eve 1957. Yet, despite these credits, her fame truly crystallized with the Beverly Hillbillies. Behind the screen, however, her story carried both resilience and heartbreak. Culp married Charles Malcolm Dacus in 1951, but the union ended in divorce less than a decade later. She had no children, and though she maintained a dignified presence, her personal life was touched by loneliness. Later in life, she bravely entered politics, running for Congress in Pennsylvania in 1984, but faced a crushing defeat made more painful when former co-star Buddy Ebsen publicly opposed her campaign. This political loss was one of the great disappointments of her later years. Financially, Culp lived modestly with an estimated net worth of around $1 million at her peak, built through steady television work and public appearances. She never lived extravagantly, preferring a quieter life after Hollywood, though she did enjoy a comfortable home in Palm Desert, California. Tragically, Nancy Culp's life was cut short when she was diagnosed with cancer. She passed away on February 3, 1991, at the age of 69. Her death closed the chapter on a life of perseverance, intelligence, and understated brilliance. Though her career carried its share of frustrations and her personal life had moments of sadness, she remains immortal as Miss Jane Hathaway, faithful, witty, and unforgettable in the hearts of fans worldwide. Harriet E. McGibbon. The seasoned American actress became a television icon through her portrayal of the aristocratic Mrs. Margaret Drysdale in the Beverly Hillbillies. Born on October 5, 1905 in Chicago, she joined the cast of the beloved sitcom in 1962, stepping into the role at the age of 57. Her character, the snobbish wife of banker Milburn Drysdale, quickly became a recognizable figure for audiences who delighted in the clash between old money pretensions and the Clampetts' rustic charm. Before this success, Harriet had already established herself in theater, and later in films such as Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse 1962 and The Story of Mankind 1957, though it was television that gave her the most enduring spotlight. Despite her polished image, McGibbon's life was not without its hardships. Her career never reached the leading lady stardom she once aspired to, and she often found herself typecast in wealthy, matronly roles. These limitations became a quiet professional disappointment. In her personal life, she endured struggles as well. Her first marriage ended in divorce, a difficult experience in a time when separation carried heavy social judgment. Though she remarried, she largely kept her private life out of Hollywood's spotlight. She had one son, and balancing her career with motherhood brought its own challenges. Financially, her estimated net worth during her later years was modest, likely around $1 to $2 million, reflecting steady but not extravagant success. She did not build a vast empire of real estate like some of her contemporaries, instead living a relatively quiet and reserved life. After her career slowed in the 1970s, Harriet E. McGibbon passed away on February 8, 1987 in Beverly Hills, California at the age of 81 due to pulmonary complications. Her death marked the end of a career that, while not without its disappointments and struggles, left behind a memorable legacy in American television history. Today, she is remembered less for scandals and more as the unforgettable Mrs. Drysdale, whose elegant airs brought comic tension to one of the most beloved sitcoms of its era. Bea Benaderet, born April 4, 1906 in New York City, became one of the most versatile and beloved actresses of American radio, television, and film. She is remembered as an iconic figure in the Beverly Hillbillies, where she played Pearl Bodine, the cousin of Jed Clampett, beginning in 1962 at the age of 56. Pearl was a lively, witty character, often meddling in family affairs and bringing warmth and humor to the Clampetts' new life in Beverly Hills. Her performance showcased her natural comedic timing and ability to bring depth to roles that might otherwise have been overlooked. Before her television fame, Bernadette had already built a remarkable career. She was a staple of classic radio shows like The Jack Benny Program and Fibber McGee and Molly, and her distinctive voice made her a legend in animation. She voiced countless characters for Warner Brothers cartoons, most famously Granny and Looney Tunes and Betty Rubble in the first season of The Flintstones. Later, she became a television star in her own right with leading roles in Petticoat Junction and appearances on The George Burns and Gracie Allen Show. Despite her professional triumphs, Bee's personal life was shadowed by tragedy. Her first marriage ended in divorce, and though she remarried, her health became a devastating battle. In the 1960s, at the height of her television success, she was diagnosed with lung cancer. This cruel twist of fate forced her to reduce her appearances on Petticoat Junction, just as the series was flourishing. The illness became a defining biographical tragedy, cutting short what could have been an even greater late-career legacy. Financially, Bea Benaderet achieved comfort rather than extravagance with an estimated net worth of around $1 to $3 million at her peak. Unlike some Hollywood stars, she did not focus on building vast real estate holdings, but instead lived a stable, family-oriented life. She had 2 children, and balancing her career with motherhood was both a source of pride and personal struggle. Bea Benaderet died on October 13, 1968 in Los Angeles, at the age of 62 from lung cancer and pneumonia complications. Her death was a deep blow to fans who had come to see her as a familiar and comforting presence on screen. Though her career was marred by health struggles and an untimely end, she left behind a remarkable legacy across radio animation and television, ensuring her place as one of the great character actresses of the 20th century. Shug Fisher, born George Clinton Fisher Jr. on September 26, 1907, was an American character actor, musician, and comedian who became a familiar face on television, particularly remembered for his role as Shorty Kellums on the Beverly Hillbillies. He joined the cast in the later seasons of the series, bringing his country charm and musical humor to the Clampett family's world. When he appeared in the show during the 1960s, Fisher was already in his late 50s, seasoned by decades of performing in vaudeville radio and Western-themed productions. His portrayal of Shorty, a lovable fiddle-playing friend of Jed Clampett, solidified his place as a symbol of rustic comedy in American pop culture. Before the Beverly Hillbillies, Fisher had built a long career as a singer and musician, performing with groups like the Sons of the Pioneers and appearing in Western films, alongside icons such as Roy Rogers and Gene Autry. He also made guest appearances in shows like Gunsmoke, The Dukes of Hazzard, and Perry Mason, proving his versatility as both a comedic and dramatic actor. Despite these accomplishments, his career was not without hardship. Hollywood often typecast him into stereotypical hillbilly or sidekick roles, limiting his chances for leading performances. He endured periods where work was scarce, forcing him to rely on touring music acts to survive. This struggle to balance stability and artistic ambition was one of the quiet tragedies of his professional life. In his personal life, Fisher never achieved the wealth or high-profile lifestyle of many of his Hollywood peers. His net worth at its peak was estimated to be modest, likely in the range of $1 million or less by today's standards, reflective of a working actor rather than a star. He experienced heartbreaks in relationships, though he was known to have been married. Details about children remain less clear, with no public record suggesting he had any. His life carried its own share of disappointments, missed opportunities, fleeting fame, and the difficulty of sustaining long-term success in the entertainment industry. Shug Fisher passed away on March 16, 1984 in Woodland Hills, California, from heart failure at the age of 76. At the time of his death, he was remembered fondly as a reliable performer, whose humor and musical talents enriched American television and film. Though he never amassed vast wealth or owned luxurious estates, his enduring legacy lies in the joy he brought to audiences through his songs, comedic timing, and memorable appearances on one of television's most beloved sitcoms. Today, Fisher remains an emblem of the hardworking character actor, beloved, relatable, and forever etched into the cultural memory of classic American entertainment. Sharon Tate, born on January 24, 1943 in Dallas, Texas, was a rising Hollywood actress and model whose life and career were tragically cut short. She became a cultural icon of the 1960s, known not only for her beauty but also for her roles in films like Valley of the Dolls, 1967, Eye of the Devil, 1966, and The Fearless Vampire Killers, 1967, where she met Roman Polanski, who later became her husband. Tate's most iconic role, however, was in Valley of the Dolls, which earned her a Golden Globe nomination and positioned her as one of Hollywood's most promising young stars. In The Beverly Hillbillies, Sharon Tate appeared in a recurring role as Janet Trego, the beautiful secretary working at Mr. Drysdale's bank. She was in her early 20s at the time, glowing with youthful charm and already catching the attention of Hollywood producers. This role allowed her to showcase her comedic presence, but she was still often cast in roles emphasizing her looks rather than her depth as an actress, a limitation that frustrated her professionally. Tate's personal life was both glamorous and turbulent. She married director Roman Polanski in 1968, and the two quickly became one of Hollywood's most talked-about couples. She was pregnant with their first child when tragedy struck. On August 9, 1969, at the age of only 26, Sharon Tate was brutally murdered in her Los Angeles home by members of the Charles Manson cult. The crime shocked the world, ending a promising career and leaving behind one of Hollywood's darkest legacies. Her death, along with the murders of her friends that night, became a symbol of the violent end of the 1960s era of peace and love. Financially, Sharon Tate's career was still ascending when she died. Her net worth at the time was modest, likely around $300,000, $500,000 equivalent to several million today, as she had not yet reached the earning power of established Hollywood stars. She owned a luxury home in Benedict Canyon, with Polanski, which became the infamous site of the Manson murders. Tate's life was marked by contradictions. She was adored by fans and admired for her elegance, yet she often battled the frustration of being typecast as the beautiful girl, rather than being offered more serious acting roles. Her biographical story remains one of tragedy. A young starlet full of potential caught in a storm of fame, love, and ultimately a horrific act of violence. Today, she is remembered not only as a victim of one of history's most notorious crimes, but also as a symbol of unfulfilled promise, her luminous screen presence frozen in time. Frank Wilcox, born on March 13, 1907 in DeSoto, Missouri, was a seasoned American character actor whose sharp features and dignified presence made him a natural fit for authority roles on both television and in film. To audiences of the Beverly Hillbillies, he is best remembered as John Brewster, the oil executive, whose strike on the Clampett's land set the entire story in motion. It was his character who first recognized the value of Jed Clampett's discovery and brought the family from the backwoods of the Ozarks to the glittering hills of Beverly Hills. When he first appeared in the series in 1962, Wilcox was already 55 years old, a veteran actor with decades of experience behind him. Before his sitcom fame, Wilcox's career stretched across Hollywood's golden years. He appeared in more than 150 films and countless television episodes, often cast as judges, lawyers, businessmen, or military officers. His credits included roles in Julius Caesar 1953, Gentlemen Prefer Blondes 1953, and Man in the Gray Flannel Suit 1956, as well as TV appearances in Perry Mason, The Untouchables, and I Love Lucy. Yet despite his prolific resume, Wilcox never achieved the status of a leading man. Hollywood's typecasting ensured that he remained in supporting roles a dependable face, but rarely a household name. This professional ceiling was both a success, providing him steady work, and a quiet personal disappointment, a reminder of the limits placed on many character actors of his generation. In his personal life, Frank Wilcox lived quietly compared to many of his Hollywood contemporaries. His net worth at its peak was modest by celebrity standards, likely in the range of $1 to $2 million, in today's value reflecting decades of consistent but secondary roles. There is little record of scandal or highly publicized drama in his private affairs. He was known more for his professionalism than for flamboyance. Wilcox married and is believed to have had a family life outside the glare of the spotlight, though details about children remain relatively obscure. Unlike some of his peers, he did not invest in lavish estates or extravagant lifestyles. His real estate holdings were practical rather than grandiose, ensuring comfort rather than opulence. Frank Wilcox's story, however, took a somber turn in his later years. After a long and steady career, he passed away on March 3, 1974 in Granada Hills, California, just 10 days before his 67th birthday. The cause was a heart attack, and his death marked the end of a career that, while never star-driven, contributed immeasurably to Hollywood's golden tapestry. Today, Wilcox is remembered as one of those indispensable actors who may not have reached superstardom, but whose work helped define the character of countless films and television shows. His role in the Beverly Hillbillies remains his most iconic, symbolizing how even a supporting character can leave a lasting imprint on American television history. Elvia Allman, born on September 19, 1904 in Enochville, North Carolina, was an American actress and voice artist whose career spanned radio animation and television. To audiences of the Beverly Hillbillies, she is fondly remembered for her recurring role as Elverna Bradshaw, the feisty neighbor and friendly rival of Granny Irene Ryan. With her sharp wit and expressive delivery, Allman brought humor and a dose of small-town sass to the series. She was nearly 58 years old when she first appeared on the show in the early 1960s, already an experienced performer with decades in entertainment. Before her sitcom recognition, Allman had built a reputation as a versatile talent. She began in radio during the 1930s, where her distinct voice led to work in animation, most famously as the original voice of Clarabelle Cow for Disney. She also lent her voice to Warner Brothers cartoons, adding to her legacy in the golden age of animation. In Hollywood films, she appeared in supporting parts in The Nutty Professor 1963, with Jerry Lewis Breakfast at Tiffany's 1961, and The Man Who Came to Dinner 1942. Television brought her continued success with appearances in I Love Lucy Petticoat Junction and The Lucy Show. Despite this impressive resume, her career was filled with the frustrations of typecasting. Hollywood often relegated her to humorous side roles, neighbors, spinsters, or quirky women, never allowing her to ascend into leading roles. This professional glass ceiling was one of the ongoing disappointments in her otherwise steady career. In her personal life, Elvia Allman kept much of her private world away from Hollywood gossip columns. She never married and had no children, living instead a life dedicated to her craft. Her net worth was modest, likely under $1 million in today's value, reflecting the steady but unglamorous earnings of a lifelong character actress. Without a family or major estates to her name, her later years were quieter, marked more by nostalgia for her long body of work than by luxury. Tragically, her life came to an end on March 6, 1988 in Santa Monica, California, where she died of pneumonia at the age of 83. Though she passed without the wealth or fame of Hollywood's leading ladies, Allman left behind a legacy of unforgettable performances across multiple mediums: radio, cartoons, film, and television. Today, Elvia Allman is remembered as one of those indispensable performers whose voice and presence shaped classic American entertainment. Her role as Elverna Bradshaw in the Beverly Hillbillies continues to keep her memory alive, reminding audiences of the countless character actors who gave depth, humor, and heart to some of the most beloved shows of the 20th century. Which character from the Beverly Hillbillies 1962-1971 holds a special place in your heart? How does it make you feel knowing that the beloved cast members are no longer with us? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to share them in the comments below. If you've been enjoying this content, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Thank you for watching.